Gary Cooper, the architect of silence. There was a letter, written 2 days before Gary Cooper died. In it, there was a sentence that Hollywood hid for 60 years. "This is Gary Cooper, 6'3", the face of American masculinity." But who was the man behind those eyes? The letter was never sent, never opened. The words inside lost to history, until a private collection revealed its existence in 2019. This is not a story about Gary Cooper, the American cowboy. This is the story of Frank, a boy from Montana who lost his name to become a legend. And the question that letter asked was this: can a man live an entire life and never once be himself?
Why don't you let Coley try first?
The Boy Who Lost His Name. 1901, Helena, Montana. Frank James Cooper was born under wide skies, the son of a judge, raised on horseback and open land. You know, there's something about growing up in a place where you can see for miles, where the horizon doesn't end. It teaches you that the world is bigger than any one person's opinion. Frank learned that lesson early. 1924. Frank came to Hollywood, not for fame, for money. He stuttered in auditions, stood awkwardly under the lights, but there was something the camera saw in Frank Cooper, something he was trying to hide. And Hollywood? Hollywood saw value in that. 1930. A photographer took a picture that was never published. Paramount Studios paid $10,000, a fortune at the time, to buy the negative. In that photograph was Gary Cooper and another person, in a private moment. The photograph was destroyed, but the truth? You can't burn truth. And from that day forward, Gary Cooper's life was no longer his own. Paramount didn't just hire Frank Cooper, they rebuilt him. 1926. They changed his name to Gary, named after Gary, Indiana. It sounded stronger, more masculine. They taught him how to stand, how to look, how to say less. And here's something I wonder about. When you change your name, how much of the old name do you keep? It's like your father's old Ford pickup. You can repaint it, polish it, swap the engine, but late at night, parked in the garage, it still remembers those dirt roads it used to run. Did Gary Cooper ever stop remembering Frank? They also taught him one more thing, something he'd regret for 40 years. They taught him how to hide. By 1930, Gary Cooper received 5,000 fan letters every week. American mothers wrote, "You are the man I want my son to become." American daughters wrote, "You are the husband I pray for." Paramount had an unwritten rule. Gary Cooper must be America's moral compass, which meant no scandals, no drinking in public. No, anything that makes people question. Have you ever stood in a room full of people and felt completely alone? Why? Because everyone in that room is loving a version of you that you're not. That was a 30-year-old man standing under stage lights, knowing 50 million Americans loved Gary, but nobody remembered who Frank was. But in 1929, something changed. Gary Cooper moved into a small apartment on Rossmore Avenue with a friend, actor named Anderson Lawler. To the world outside, they were roommates, but inside that apartment, they were something the world would never allow them to be. The three masks. We all wear masks. At work, at family dinners, on Facebook, posting pictures of our perfect lives. Gary Cooper wore masks too. But here's the difference. He didn't choose them. Other people chose them for him. I count 3 masks. Each one left a different scar. Mask 1. The Provider. 1927. Gary Cooper arrived in Hollywood with nothing but a face and a borrowed suit. Rod LaRock was a star of the silent era. handsome, polished, married to the beautiful Vilma Banky. He noticed Gary now, standing in a casting line, looking lost. Rod took him in, bought him his first real suit, let him sleep in the spare room, taught him how to survive. But in Hollywood, nothing is free. Beauty has value, and someone always pays. Years later, Cooper told a friend, in a rare moment of exhaustion, "Rod taught me the rules. In this town, you either give some or you lose everything." Then came Howard Hughes. Before Elon Musk, before Jeff Bezos, there was Hughes, a 23-year-old billionaire who wanted everything, simply because he could have it. 1928. Hughes met Cooper at a Paramount party. Within a week, Cooper had a new Packard, tailored suits, a tennis club membership he'd never asked for. The bills? Paid. No questions asked. Have you ever worked for someone who didn't care about you, but you smiled anyway, nodded anyway, because the bills don't pay themselves? Why did Cooper accept? Not because he was weak. He was hungry, not just for food, but for a place in this world. And sometimes the price of that place is a piece of your soul. 1930. Cooper quietly left Hughes. No explanation, no confrontation. Years later, an unsent letter was found in his papers. It said, "H, you gave me what money can buy, but I need what it cannot." Mask 2. The Dreamer. Anderson Lawler, supporting actor at Paramount, quick-witted, fearless in private, everything Cooper wasn't. They met on set in 1929. Within weeks, they moved in together. One bedroom, one typewriter, 2 toothbrushes. To the world, they were roommates. But in that small apartment, they were something softer, something true. Weekends, they drove to the desert, used fake names at gas stations, cooked over campfires under stars that remembered Frank. Cooper even took Lawler to Montana once, the only person from his Hollywood life who ever met Frank's family. When Lawler coached him through lines for The Virginian, Cooper's first leading role, he didn't teach Gary. He reminded Frank how to be real. But Hollywood doesn't like soft secrets. By 1930, Cooper was being pushed toward stardom and pushed away from Andy. Studio executives told him, "You want to be a leading man? Stop living with that boy." And Cooper, terrified of losing the only thing he was good at, let go. He never said goodbye. One morning, Anderson came home, and Gary was gone. Do you remember your closest friend from college? The only person who really understood you? Then you graduated, went separate ways, because you have to grow up, because that's life. Have you ever wondered, what if you hadn't listened to the world that day? What would your life look like? 1931, British photographer Cecil Beaton came to Hollywood. He photographed Cooper. In his private diary, Beaton wrote, "He looks like a sculpture carved by sadness." They met several times, walked at dusk, talked about art. One evening, they kissed. 2 weeks later, Beaton returned to London. They never spoke again. But Beaton kept one photograph, unpublished. Cooper, in light, looking at something already lost. But you know what? There were good days. Some Sunday afternoons, they'd drive to the Arizona desert. Didn't talk much, just sat on the hood of the car, watching the sun go down. And in those moments, Frank didn't have to be Gary. He was just a boy from Montana, looking at a sky big enough to hold all his secrets. Some happiness, even when brief, is still real. Mask 3. The Survivor. 1949. Rock Hudson. 24 years old. Tall, smooth, smile that made people forget to breathe. Cooper saw him at a closed casting session. That afternoon, Hudson found a note under his door. "Don't let this town eat you. Let me teach you how to ride it. G." And just like that, it began.
They rented a house in West Hollywood, registered under Cooper's assistant's name. By day, distant stars. By night, Cooper let down every wall he'd built for 20 years. Rock told him, "You're the reason I came to Hollywood. I learned to ride horses just to be like you." And Cooper, for the first time in decades, believed someone saw Frank, not Gary. But when Hudson started landing bigger roles, things changed. He came home later, laughed less, looked through Cooper instead of at him. 1955. Rock Hudson announced his engagement to his agent's secretary. The magazine said, "America's favorite bachelor finally settles down." That same week, Gary Cooper was hospitalized for exhaustion. The doctor wrote, "Patient refusing food. When asked why, he said only, 'I'm tired.'" Cooper looked at Rock Hudson and saw himself, saw a man choosing the mask over the truth, just like he had done for 25 years. And he hated what he saw. You know what Cooper's greatest pain was? It wasn't that he had to hide. It was that he never knew what not hiding looked like. He never held someone's hand on a public street, never introduced the person I love to his parents, never grew old beside someone. Because sometimes the deepest pain isn't living the wrong life. It's never knowing what the right one feels like. The truth we couldn't see. 1958. A reporter asked Cooper, "What makes you happiest?" Cooper laughed and said, "When I don't have to be Gary Cooper." The reporter laughed. They thought it was a joke from a humble star, but if you read carefully, that wasn't a joke. Gary Cooper's real name was Frank James Cooper. Gary was a stage name. Cooper the cowboy was a character created by the studio, and for 40 years, nobody remembered who Frank was anymore. Not even Frank himself. Lawler was the only one who called him Frank. Beaton wrote in his diary, "I kissed a man named Frank, not Gary." But by the 1950s, even his wife called him Gary. Not because she didn't know, but because the world only wanted Gary. The world had no room for Frank. Have you ever looked in a mirror and wondered, is the person looking back still me? We love to blame Hollywood. It's easy. But Hollywood was just a mirror, reflecting us. 1935. A survey showed 89% of American moviegoers said they would boycott a film if they knew the lead actor was different. 1935. A fan wrote Cooper, "You are the most perfect man I've ever seen. I want my son to grow up just like you." Cooper kept that letter in his desk drawer for 9 years. His assistant wrote in a memoir, every time he looked at it, he wept. Do you understand? Cooper wasn't afraid of being himself. He was afraid we would hate him for not being who we needed him to be. The studio didn't lock Cooper in an iron cage. We did. With our love, with our expectations, with our need for heroes who would never disappoint us, we said, "Be our hero." And he was, for 40 years, until he forgot who he was when he wasn't. May 13th, 1961. Gary Cooper died of cancer, 60 years old. Hollywood organized the largest memorial service in its history. Every star attended, except one. Anderson Lawler, Cooper's first companion, was not there. 30 years later, 1991, in a rare interview, a reporter asked Lawler, "Why didn't you attend the memorial?" Lawler was 92.